Why would a billionaire tech mogul, master of a global empire, believe a homeless kid could heal his daughter's paralyzed legs when top doctors said it's hopeless? What's a CEO's fortune worth when his little girl's smile is gone? This is Lucas Bennett's story, and it's no ordinary tale. Seattle's rain drums outside Harborview Medical Center. The pavement slick under a gray sky. A tattered notebook lies open on a soggy cardboard box. Its sketches of muscles and bones sharp, almost surgical. Who's this boy sitting alone, unnoticed by doctors and families rushing past? Their faces heavy with grief? The hospital doors hiss, a pulse of hope and despair. The air thick with wet concrete and antiseptic. Lucas, 10, holds a secret, a gift no kid should have. What drives him to claim he can do the impossible? His pencil scratches, steady, as if tracing a lifeline. Picture Michael Harper, a titan whose billions can't buy his daughter Sophie's steps. Lost to a crash that stole her spark, why trust a boy the world ignores? Lucas's voice cuts through the rain, calm, certain, promise carved in stone. This story starts where miracles seem dead, in a city soaked with doubt. Lucas carries his mother's lessons, etched in every line he draws, waiting for someone to listen. Why does he sit here week after week, defying the odds? You'll see what happens when a kid with nothing risks everything. This journey will grip you, shake you, show you miracles hide in the smallest hearts. The rain falls, but Lucas is ready, his gaze unflinching, for a moment that could change it all. Stay close, this is where hope begins. Every Saturday, Lucas Bennett plants himself outside Harborview Medical Center, a small figure against the endless bustle of Seattle's gray mornings. The air bites at his fingertips, his breath clouding in the chill as rain taps a soft rhythm on his cardboard seat. His jacket, too big, hangs off his shoulders, sleeves rolled up to free his hands, his sneakers held together by strips of duct tape that peel in the damp. A tattered notebook rests in his lap, its pages filled with sketches of human legs, muscles, joints, each line drawn with a care that seems to belong to someone older, someone who knows more than a 10-year-old should. The hospital's neon sign flickers above, casting a pale glow on the wet pavement, its hum blending with the patter of rain. Lucas doesn't beg, doesn't call out for coins or pity. His pencil scratches softly, capturing the world in quiet strokes, his eyes scanning the glass doors as they hiss open and shut, spilling out the hospital's sterile scent. Nurses know him by name, tossing a quick, "Hey, Luke," as they pass, their scrubs swishing against the damp air. A janitor nods, his broom sweeping wet leaves into piles, his face kind but curious. They assume he's waiting, a parent, a sibling, a ride that never comes, but Lucas isn't waiting. He's remembering. Years ago, he trailed his mother through crowded community clinics, her hands guiding patients to stand, to walk, to feel whole again. She was a physical therapist, her voice warm with patience, her eyes bright as she explained how bodies hold memories, how they heal with time and care. "Everyone deserves to feel human, Luke," she'd say, her smile a beacon in the clinic's dim light. He'd sit in the corner, his small hands mimicking her motions, learning the language of muscles, the rhythm of recovery. She was his world, his teacher, his home. Now, with her gone, her lessons are all he has, etched in his notebook and his heart. He comes here every week, not because he's lost, but because this is where he feels her, where he feels alive. The hospital's rhythm is one of hope and heartbreak, and Lucas watches, his eyes searching for someone who needs what he carries, someone who might listen to a boy the world overlooks. A nurse pauses, her umbrella tilting, and says, "Cold out here, Luke. You okay?" He nods, his smile small but real, his pencil still moving, his purpose unshaken. Michael Harper steps out of his sleek black Tesla, parked across from Harborview under a flickering neon sign that hums faintly in the drizzle. His tailored coat is speckled with rain, his tie loose, his face carved with a weariness that no amount of success can erase. He's in his mid-40s, a tech entrepreneur who built an empire solving problems for millions, but now he's just a father carrying a weight he can't fix. The air smells of wet asphalt and exhaust, the city's pulse mixing with the hospital's sterile breath. He opens the back door and lifts his daughter, Sophie, into his arms, her brown curls tucked under a blue blanket that drapes over her still legs. She's 7, her face pale but her eyes bright, though they avoid the hospital's looming shadow, fixed instead on the gray sky. 6 months ago, a car accident stole her ability to run through their backyard, to dance at family barbecues, to chase fireflies under summer stars. The memory haunts Michael. Sophie's laughter, loud as crickets, now replaced by a quiet that presses on his chest like a stone. He holds her close, her body too light, her humming soft, a tune from a movie she loves, barely audible over the rain. Every hospital visit feels like a clock ticking down hope, each step toward those glass doors a reminder of what's lost. He's paid for the best doctors, the best therapies, but the answers are always the same. Progress is slow, miracles take time. His shoes click on the wet pavement, each step heavy with guilt. With the nights he's stayed up searching for new treatments, finding nothing but dead ends. He thinks of Sophie before, her small feet racing across the grass, her voice calling, "Catch me, Daddy." Now she's still, her spark dimmed, and he wonders if he's failed her. He passes nurses, families, a janitor sweeping leaves, all part of the hospital's endless pulse, but he doesn't see them. His world is Sophie, her quiet strength, her fading spark, and the desperate hope that something might bring it back. The doors are just ahead. Another visit, another day of waiting for a change that feels further away with every heavy step. As Michael carries Sophie toward Harborview's glass doors, a small voice cuts through the drizzle, steady and clear as a bell in the gray morning. "Sir, I can help your daughter walk again." Michael freezes, his breath catching in the cold air, his arms tightening around Sophie as he turns slowly, his heart thudding against his ribs. There, standing by a soggy cardboard box, is Lucas, clutching his worn notebook, his eyes bright and unflinching under a frayed hood. The words aren't loud, not a plea or a trick, just calm, certain, like a truth too big for a 10-year-old to carry. Michael's jaw clenches, his face hardening with a mix of pain and disbelief, his eyes narrowing as he takes in the boy's taped-up sneakers, his too big jacket, the notebook held like a lifeline. "What did you say?" he asks, his voice sharp, cutting like the wind, raw with the weight of months spent in hospital rooms. Lucas doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. "I can help her walk again," he repeats, his tone soft but unyielding, as if stating a fact as plain as the rain-soaked pavement. Michael's mind reels, caught between anger and something else, something he can't name. "That's not funny, kid," he snaps, his words bitter, born from countless promises that led nowhere, from doctors and specialists with their charts and cautious words. This from a kid in patched sneakers? It's absurd, cruel even, a mockery of the hope he's barely holding on to. Sophie's eyes flicker toward Lucas, curious, almost hopeful, catching his steady gaze for a moment, her humming pausing as if she senses something real in his words. Michael turns, striding through the hissing doors, the glass swallowing them into the hospital's sterile hum. But Lucas's voice lingers, an echo that sticks in his mind, tugging at a spark he's afraid to acknowledge. He thinks of the accident, the screech of tires, the silence that followed, and wonders why this boy's words feel different, heavier, like they carry a truth he's not ready to face. A nurse glances up as he passes, her clipboard in hand, and says, "Everything okay, Mr. Harper?" He nods curtly, but his thoughts are outside, caught on a kid who spoke with a certainty that feels too real to ignore. Inside Harborview's sterile waiting room, Michael sits, his fingers gripping his phone like it's the only thing keeping him from unraveling. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting harsh shadows across the linoleum floor where Sophie's wheelchair rests, her blue blanket pulled tight around her small frame. The air smells of antiseptic and stale coffee, the hospital's endless rhythm of beeps and footsteps pressing in. Doctors in white coats drone on about Sophie's therapy, phrases like, long-term goals, gradual improvement, and manage expectations that sound rehearsed, hollow after months of repetition, each word chipping away at the hope Michael clings to. Sophie traces invisible patterns on her blanket, her eyes distant, as if she's escaped to a world where her legs still work, where she's running through their backyard, free. Michael nods absently, his mind snagged on that boy's voice outside. I can help her walk again. It's ridiculous, a claim that should have faded into the hospital's noise. But it hasn't. Lucas's eyes, calm, too sure for a kid in taped-up sneakers, keep flashing in his head, unyielding, like they've seen miracles before. He shakes it off, staring at the doctor's clipboard, but the words loop like a stubborn song, pulling him back to that rainy moment. He remembers Sophie before the accident, spinning in their backyard, her laughter louder than the summer crickets, her small feet racing across the grass, calling, "Catch me, Daddy!" The memory stings, sharp and vivid, a life that feels stolen. Now, she's still, her spark dimmed, and this kid's words, impossible as they are, stir something dangerous. He thinks of the nights he spent searching for new treatments, scrolling through medical journals, calling specialists, finding nothing but dead ends. At home that night, the house is too quiet, the silence amplifying every creak of the floorboards. Sophie's voice breaks it, small but piercing. "Daddy, why did that boy say I could walk?" Michael freezes, his throat tight, her question cutting through the wall he's built around his heart. He kneels beside her wheelchair, brushing a curl from her face, his fingers lingering. "I don't know, sweetheart," he says, his voice softer than he means. Maybe he believes it. Sophie's eyes search his, wide and wondering, and he sees a flicker of something, curiosity, maybe hope, that he hasn't seen in months. A nurse calls from the hallway, next appointment's in 10, but Michael barely hears, his mind caught on Lucas, on the certainty in his voice, on the possibility he's afraid to name. For the first time, doubt cracks, and a question keeps him awake. What if this boy is right? Night falls over Seattle, and Lucas huddles under a tarp in a dim alley near Harborview, the rain drumming a steady rhythm on the plastic above. The air is cold, sharp with the scent of wet asphalt and distant exhaust. The city's hum faint, car horns, a far-off siren. But here, it's just him, the rain, and his thoughts. His notebook, edges curling from the damp, rests against his chest like a shield against the world. His mother's face flashes in his mind, her hands guiding a veteran's leg in a crowded clinic, her voice warm as she explained how muscles hold memories, how they can heal with patience and care. She was a physical therapist, pouring love into every step she helped others take, and Lucas was her shadow, carrying her bag, soaking in her lessons. "Everyone deserves to feel whole, Luke," she'd say, her smile brighter than the clinic's flickering lights. He'd watch her work, his small hands mimicking her motions, learning the language of muscles, the rhythm of recovery. Cancer took her too soon, leaving him with nothing but this notebook and her words etched in his heart. Now, doubt creeps in, heavy as the rain, pressing against his chest. "Maybe I'm wrong," he whispers, his voice breaking, barely audible over the patter. "Maybe I can't help Sophie." His fingers hover over the notebook, tempted to tear it apart, to let go of the dream that's kept him going. He sees Sophie's face, her curious eyes, and wonders if he's promised too much, if he's just a kid chasing a memory that's slipping away. He thinks of his mother's patience, the ones who stood because she believed they could, and the weight of her absence feels crushing. But then he stops, tracing her faded handwriting inside the cover. "Keep helping Luke, never stop." The words steady him, a lifeline in the dark. A nurse passes, her footsteps splashing, and slips a granola bar under the tarp. "You're doing good, kid," she says, her voice kind, like his mother's once was. Lucas clutches the notebook tighter, his breath steadying, the doubt still there but quieter now. He remembers his mother's last days, her hand weak but warm in his, her voice soft. "You're my helper, Luke. Keep going." The alley feels less cold, the rain less heavy, as he holds onto her words, onto Sophie's curious gaze, onto the boy he's trying to be. He's not ready to give up. Not on her, not on his mother's lessons, not on himself. The mist hangs low over Green Lake Park, Seattle, on a quiet Sunday noon, the air cool and damp, carrying the scent of wet grass and cedar trees that sway gently in the breeze. Lucas waits by a lone cedar, a folded towel at his feet, his small bag holding socks, a tennis ball, and a rice pack warmed just right. His taped-up sneakers sink slightly into the earth, his notebook tucked away, but his mother's lessons guide every move he makes, steady as a heartbeat. The park is quiet, save for the rustle of leaves and the distant chatter of a jogger's dog. Michael arrives, pushing Sophie's wheelchair across the uneven path, his face tight with skepticism, though a flicker of curiosity softens his tired eyes. Sophie's blue blanket slips, revealing her still legs, but her face lights up when she sees Lucas, her brown curls bouncing slightly as she leans forward. Lucas kneels beside her, his voice gentle, warm as a summer afternoon. "Read any good books lately?" he asks, his smile easy. She grins, saying, "Harry Potter." And Lucas does a silly impression of Hermione, waving an imaginary wand, making her giggle like she hasn't in months. "You'd make a great wizard," he says, and Sophie laughs, her voice bright, cutting through the mist. He starts with small stretches, guiding her legs with care, his hands steady like his mother's once were. "This helps your muscles wake up," he explains, showing her how to move her ankles, his tone patient, never rushed. Michael stands back, arms crossed, watching every motion, his doubt wrestling with the sound of Sophie's laughter, a sound that used to fill their home on lazy Sundays. A jogger pauses, curious, her dog sniffing the grass nearby. "What's he doing?" she asks a passerby, who shrugs. Sophie asks, "Did your mom teach you this?" Lucas nods, his smile small but real. "She taught me to listen to what bodies say, even when they're quiet." He shares a memory of his mother, helping a woman walk after a stroke, her hands gentle, her faith unshaken. Michael's guard lowers, just a fraction, as he sees his daughter's spark flicker back, her giggle a melody he'd almost forgotten. He thinks of the hospital, the endless appointments, the machines that never brought that smile. Lucas doesn't promise miracles, just patience, just care. His taped-up sneakers a quiet testament to his own struggles. The park feels alive, possibility hanging in the air like the mist, and Lucas keeps working, his hands steady, his heart full, knowing this is what his mother would have done, what she'd want him to do for Sophie. Clouds hang heavy over Green Lake Park, casting a gray pallor on another Sunday, the air thick with the promise of more rain, the cedar trees swaying under a restless breeze. Sophie's face is stormy too, her arms crossed tight, her wheelchair feeling like a prison she can't escape. "This is stupid," she snaps, her voice sharp, tears spilling down her cheeks, her small hands clenched in her lap. "I'll never walk. It's pointless." Her words cut through the quiet park, raw with frustration after days of trying with no change, each stretch feeling like a lie. Michael kneels beside her, his jaw tight, his own hope fraying at the edges, his eyes heavy with the weight of her pain. "We'll keep trying, sweetheart," he whispers, but his words falter, hollow against the months spent chasing answers that never come. He thinks of the accident, the screech of tires, Sophie's silence in the hospital bed, and wonders if he's failing her all over again. Lucas sits back on his heels, his eyes soft but steady, his taped-up sneakers grounded in the grass, his hands still from their careful work. "I know what it's like to feel helpless," he says quietly, his voice barely above the rustle of cedar branches, his words landing like rain on dry ground. "I watched my mom die, and I couldn't do anything. I wanted to quit too, every day." Sophie's tears slow as she looks at him, her anger softening, her eyes searching his face. He shares a memory of his mother, helping a man stand after years in a wheelchair, her hands patient, her faith unshaken, her voice saying, "One step at a time, Luke. She told me being scared means you're close to something big." Lucas says, his tone calm, certain, his eyes steady on Sophie's. She wipes her face, her breath shaky, and nods, her small hands unclenching. Lucas guides her legs again, slower this time, showing her how to try without forcing. His hands steady as he explains each motion, his voice gentle but firm. Michael joins in, his voice softer now, encouraging her to move her toes, his hand resting on her shoulder, his heart aching with a hope he's afraid to name. A breeze stirs the branches, and the park feels still, but something shifts. Sophie's spark flickers back, a small flame of determination in her eyes, her voice quiet but resolute. "Okay, let's try again." Lucas smiles faintly, not triumphant, just present, ready to keep going. His mother's lessons alive in every careful touch, every quiet word that carries them forward. Sunlight spills through the cedar trees at Green Lake Park, painting the grass gold on a bright Sunday morning. The air crisp with the promise of spring, carrying the scent of earth and blooming flowers. A small crowd gathers, families with hopeful eyes, a nurse wiping her glasses, a pastor setting up folding chairs near a weathered bench, his Bible tucked under his arm. Lucas kneels before Sophie, his voice a steady whisper, his taped-up sneakers sinking into the soft earth, his hands poised with the care of someone who knows the weight of his work. "We help you stand," he says, his eyes locked on hers. "You do the rest." Michael stands behind, his hands under Sophie's arms, his breath uneven, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope, his fingers trembling slightly. Lucas guides her legs, gentle but sure, his hands steady like his mother's once were, each motion deliberate, practiced, a quiet echo of the clinics he used to wander. "On three," he whispers, his voice calm, certain, cutting through the crowd's hushed anticipation. Sophie closes her eyes, her brow tight with focus, her small hands gripping the wheelchair's arms, her knuckles pale. 1, 2, 3. She rises, her legs trembling, the crowd holding its breath, the air thick with possibility. Then, a miracle unfolds. Sophie takes 2 shaky steps, her feet finding the ground like they've remembered how to move, each step a defiance of the accident that stole so much. She stumbles, but Michael catches her, his arms shaking as he laughs, tears streaming down his face, his voice breaking. "I did it!" Sophie cries, her voice bright, her eyes wide with wonder, her smile radiant as the sunlight. The crowd gasps, some clapping, a mother covering her mouth as tears fall, her child tugging at her sleeve. The nurse whispers, "My God," her glasses fogging, and the pastor bows his head, murmuring a prayer of thanks. Michael kneels beside Sophie, his hand brushing her curls, his heart full in a way it hasn't been since the accident, his voice choked. "You really did it, sweetheart." Sophie turns to Lucas, beaming, her eyes shining. "You said I could." Lucas nods, his smile quiet, humble, his eyes bright but not seeking praise. "I said we'd try," he says softly, stepping back, his taped-up sneakers still in the grass. A child in the crowd asks, "Can he help me too?" Her voice small but hopeful, her mother squeezing her hand. The question hangs in the air, and Lucas doesn't hear, but his notebook rests nearby, pages fluttering in the breeze, filled with his mother's lessons. Michael looks at Lucas, his skepticism gone, replaced by awe, by gratitude, by a belief he thought he'd lost. The park hums with joy, every heart lifted by a girl's steps and a boy's unwavering belief. A moment that feels like a beginning, a promise of more to come. Weeks later, Green Lake Park is alive, transformed from its quiet Sundays into a vibrant gathering place under the cedar trees. The air filled with the scent of fresh coffee and blooming flowers. Families spread across the grass, their laughter mingling with the chatter of kids, the clink of folding chairs, and the bark of a playful dog chasing a ball. A food truck parks nearby, handing out coffee and pastries, steam curling in the crisp air. a gift from a local diner moved by the stories spreading through Seattle. Lucas moves among them, his small bag of tools, socks, a tennis ball, a warm rice pack at his side, his taped-up sneakers leaving faint prints in the earth. His notebook tucked away but ever present in his mind. He kneels beside a boy with a walker, showing his parents how to stretch his legs, his voice soft, patient, teaching them to listen to what bodies say. It's about feeling the muscle, not forcing it, he says, his hands guiding gently, his eyes focused, his mother's lessons alive in every motion. Sophie, steady on her walker, rolls up with a grin, her brown curls bouncing, her eyes bright with purpose. I started the Kids Move Club, she announces, her small voice carrying big dreams, to help other kids like me get therapy, to help them move again. The crowd cheers, eyes bright with pride, some wiping tears, their applause echoing through the park. A father nods, saying, "She's an inspiration," his voice thick, and a mother hugs her daughter, whispering, "You could try too." Lucas lays out his towel, checking on Sophie first, his smile quiet, humble, before helping another child. A girl trying to wiggle her toes, her face lighting up at the smallest motion. A nurse from Harborview watches, her dog tugging at its leash, remembering Lucas from those rainy mornings by the hospital, her heart full as she sees what he sparked. A local reporter scribbles notes, her camera clicking, capturing the scene for a story that's spreading beyond Seattle. A story of a boy who had nothing but gave everything. Lucas doesn't seek the spotlight, his focus on the girl, on her small victory, on the parents learning his techniques. Sophie's club grows, raising funds through flyers, bake sales, and word of mouth. A beacon for kids who need hope, for families who felt alone. The park, once silent, now hums with hope, with small victories shared among strangers who've become something like family. A grandmother in the crowd says, "That boy's an angel," her voice soft, and a teenager nods, filming the scene on his phone, already posting it online. This started with a boy who carried his mother's love in a tattered notebook, who saw a girl in a wheelchair and believed she could stand. Hope isn't found. It's made, built in the quiet moments, in the small acts that ripple outward. Notice someone struggling today. Offer what you have, no matter how small. A kind word, a helping hand, a moment of belief. Be the reason someone finds their spark again. Your kindness, your time, could spark something bigger than you know, just like Lucas did, one quiet Sunday at a time, in a park that will never be the same.